hijack goods on their lives, exploit friends and lovers, just like the sisters and brothers. No right, just a human animal. Just see, this is not natural. Just see, doesn't have to be a word. Please see, future can be a new world. Fighting for nothing to win while thieves are stealing everything. Brothers, sisters, throwing fists. Can they see what world exists? I can't quite get what's going on. There's rules and rules, my head is gone. Convince themselves of happiness, but I just see the words I miss. Fighting for nothing to win while thieves are stealing everything. Sisters throwing fists. Can they see what world exists? Can't quite get what's going on. There's rules and rules, my head is gone. Convince themselves of happiness, but I just see the words I miss. Fighting for nothing to win while thieves are stealing everything. Brothers, sisters, throwing fists. Can they see what world exists? Can't quite get what's going on. There's rules and rules, my head is gone. Convince themselves of happiness, but I just see the words I miss.
Hello. How are we all doing? Can you all hear me? We all doing fine. I hope so. I hope we're not doing shite. Because it is. You know what I always say. People are always like, oh, you know what John says. He says it's shite to be doing shite. Hey, we can hear you. Welcome, Paul. Welcome in participation. Good to have you here. Today I've got some things that I do want to talk about, unlike last time where I was just firing it off the dome, just like fucking rapid fire, just seeing what happens. This time I've got a little bit I want to talk about. Hey Charlie, thanks for joining. Yeah, so today we're going to talk about a bit about the Necropolitics video, and specifically, I think I quite like this video. I thought it was pretty. I thought it was a good essay. And being a fucking nerd, I like when I have good essays. I'll bring up the there we go. The wee thumbnail was quite fun. So I thought this was a pretty good essay, a grim topic to do quite a well constructed essay about. But there was one thing specifically missing from this video, and it's a thing that I consciously chose to omit, and that is how Palestine figures into necropolitics, because it's Palestine is a very central part of Mbembe's book. I don't know why does my stuff keeps disappearing. I don't know what's going on here. My screen keeps mucking around. One day I'm gonna get a computer that isn't just terrible, but that is not today. Today I'm still on the terrible computer. Yeah. So one thing that I didn't mention in the video, I hope everyone else enjoyed it. One thing that I didn't mention was Palestine. So I want to bring up some discussion of that right now, just to sort of complete the video and complete the discussion, like what was going on. So I'm gonna do some maybe less fun stuff before we get into the more fun part of the stream, which is normally people talking shite, and I enjoy talking shite. That's why I do this. I like talking shite with you guys. So first let's get through our meat before we can get onto our pudding of talking shite with each other. So yeah, first of all, oh Christ, here, I did not set this up well. I was watching, so before this I was watching Tom Nicholas's stream, and he's so much more professional than me in like every way. He's got his soothing voice, he's got his books behind him, he's got his camera, everything. He does it great, and like all of his stuff isn't constantly breaking or failing on him. I've got to get as good as Tom Nicholas at doing streams and YouTube. I think we should all be more like the internet's good boy, Tom Nicholas. If you've not watched his stuff, he's a very good boy. So fuck it, I'm just gonna pick up the microphone. Fuck it, who cares? Oh, what is going on here? My computer has blacked out. Oh no, what's happened? Sorry, if you can still hear me, my computer for some reason just went onto its lock screen. I hope you can all still hear me. I hope I'm still streaming. Let's see. I am, cool. Alright, so sorry for that. Yeah, so first thing we're going to talk about then is the case of Palestine, the case of Palestine and Necropolitics. So, and for everyone who watched the video and anyone who doesn't, one of the core parts of Necropolitics is the management of certain populations to keep them closer to death than others, and the obvious case. Watch as JTD rotates PDF live on stream. I'm not even rotating PDF. I'm doing literally nothing. I am not touching anything. I am not trying to do anything. It's my equipment that's trying to do stuff to me. I'm a victim in all of this to technology that hates me. I'm fucking trying to live my life in 1953 and fucking streaming YouTube, trying to keep one picture, quote, one picture on screen for 5 minutes is causing me mental distress. This is, like Paul's saying, this is warts and all streaming. This is the edge of the cliff stuff. You don't know what's gonna happen next. God damn. So, yes. I should do a video on neo-Luddism. Maybe. It might be quite fun. Yeah, so necropolitics is fundamentally about the managing of populations, keeping certain ones closer to death. And obviously, if you think about it for more than 1 second, this has direct and clear connections to the case of Palestine. And in fact, Mbembe talks about this specifically. He talks about how the most accomplished form, I think to quote him directly, the most accomplished form of necropower, which is obviously in the same way like Foucault has biopolitics derived from biopower, Mbembe has necropolitics derived from necropower. And the most accomplished form of that is the contemporary colonial occupation of Palestine, where I'm just going to read a quote that he says here. The most accomplished form of necropower is the contemporary colonial occupation of Palestine. Here the colonial state derives its fundamental claim of sovereignty and legitimacy from the authority of its own particular narrative of history and identity. This narrative is itself underpinned by the idea that the state has a divine right to exist, a narrative that competes with another for the same sacred space. Because the two narratives are incompatible and the two populations are inextricably intertwined, a demarcation of territory on the basis of pure identity is quasi-impossible. And that justifies then, in the case of Palestine, the separation, the attempted separation at least, of these two groups. And I mean, I think it's pretty successful in a lot of cases, leading to what is often described as an apartheid system in Palestine, where some groups are kept very, very visibly and very obviously closer to death than others. Like I understand very clearly why Mbembe uses Palestine for his analogy, because it's so clear. You can see how people in the Gaza Strip are constantly on this edge of being killed. They're constantly on the edge of having some like a drone strike or rocket fire, or being arrested, or having their homes stolen from them. They're kept within, like, they're even kept in a situation where they're calorie controlled and they can't get proper health care. Everything about it is a state of living death, like he talks about throughout the rest of the book, and like I talk about there. One of the reasons why I decided I didn't want to talk about that specifically was, I'm gonna take a sip of tea before I finish this sentence. One of the reasons I didn't mention this in the video was because, first of all, I didn't want to, like, I had like a structure of an argument I wanted to make, which went through a particular things. Like, it went through how neoliberalism keeps people in particular spaces, and then push that through in like a clear argumentative line to these two different cases of COVID and of global warming. And I'm sure I could have brought it in as a sort of an aside, but I felt like it was worth, like, this topic is not worth an aside. It's worth, like, delving into it, and I didn't think I had, like, the time to do that justice. And I thought it would be too much of a deviation on the main argument that wouldn't allow me to do it justice. So I think it's worth bringing up here how clear the necropolitical dimensions of Palestine, of Israel and Palestine are. And early on in the book, Mbembe points out why. So I'm just seeing my stream pop up on my YouTube thing, just popping up my various fuck-ups so far. Like Paul's saying, a good craft person always blames his tools. Because if a good crafts person has bad tools, how could they be a good crafts person? That is the line that I am going with. So yeah, so when Mbembe was talking about Palestine in this book, he was careful to make sure not to draw too close a connection in apartheid between South Africa and Palestine. Not because there's any, like, different degree in, like, not like to say that Palestine isn't an apartheid like South Africa, but because he sees it as, like, the forming, the sort of focus ground of the necropolitical world in a way that is slightly distinct in apartheid, but not because of any, like, difference in morality of the two states or the two oppressive forces, but partly because of, like, just the pure technological advancement of the time. So right now, like, unlike during apartheid, you just have constant surveillance, and, like, and to draw on Foucault again, you have, like, the panoptic fear constantly on the shoulders of Palestinian people. And there was a good Channel 4 News report about this just the other day, about how when you're in the Gaza Strip, you can just hear the buzz of drones all the time. Hey, Musty, thanks for joining us. We're just talking about light topics of the way that Palestinians are segregated into areas of death in Palestine. Just keeping it light, keeping it breezy. In participation seems a bit more like Jim Crow than South Africa, in my opinion. Well, I don't think there's that much, like, huge distinction between those two things, like, because hey that dang dad, thanks for joining us, and Bubble Boy. We've got panoptic fear and apartheid. Yep, good light stuff. I am hoping to get onto some light stuff to like further on. So, like, we do try to keep things chill here. Often the chat just makes fun of me, which is fine because they're all dirty little worms whom I hate. So thanks for joining us. My vibe, the ever-present threat of punitive racialized terrorism. I mean, I mean, I think that is similar to apartheid South Africa, right? Post video chill stream appropriate. Yeah, we will get chill. If anyone like wants to ask questions about the video or anything else, oh thanks Musty. I appreciate that. I hope you stick around. Um, yeah, anyone got any questions about the video or anything else or any other videos, or might talk about Eve Fartlow for a while, because I read that article and it was like staring into the face of God, and I cried a little at the pure beauty of that posting. Frankly, I don't know if posting of that kind will ever be matched. Um, I don't know how we move on from that, from a meltdown May of that degree. It's unprecedented. To write an article saying that Eve Fartlow represents a new, represents torture is just incredible. Oh hey Marina, thanks for joining us as well. Yeah, it is just beautiful stuff, and it is like opening up that article was like opening up the fucking briefcase in what's it called, in Pulp Fiction. Just like the glow of the post illuminating my screen. Kiana Aspinall. I don't even know who Eve Bartlow is. She's a music journalist or something. I think she's Scottish, which is embarrassing, I suppose. But I didn't know who she was. I didn't really know people were calling her Eve Fartlow. But as soon as I found out, I fucking like. Marina's mum wants a shout out. Shout out to Marina's mum. She's a TikTok celebrity. Can I get some clout off her? Can I get some second-hand clout from the mother of Marina Dove, who's a TikTok star? Yeah, that dang dad. I'd never heard of her. I'd sort of like, I think I'd seen the odd post in sort of deranged anti-Corbyn Twitter every now and again, but I checked out of that a long time ago. So I just sort of vaguely recognised her, and then just meltdown May happened, and it was like the Sistine Chapel of posts. I was in heaven. I read the article and I ascended to a new plane of existence. I am enlightened at this point, and I mean, you should all be privileged to be on a live stream with someone who's found enlightenment like that. But it's true to read those posts and to realise that Eve Fartlow is against the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights. And it's funny, I did my Masters in Human Rights, and I'm furious, frankly, that at no point were we ever told that Eve Fartlow was against human rights. Just incredible stuff. We were talking about how Palestine was a zone of death. It is very easy to get me off track talking about these things. In participation, something uniquely cursed about being a Scottish liberal Zionist. Yeah, there deeply is. I don't even know how to describe the particular brand of curse that is, but it is cursed. Everyone's just wanting clout. Well, we all have limited clout. As good communists, we will all distribute the clout equitably and distribute the means of clout production among us all. That is, Marx said that. That's what we'll do. I'm going to take another swig of tea, and then I'll try and talk seriously for a moment about zones of death, and then we'll get back to some fun Eve Fartlow bits, I'm sure. So yeah, just to wrap up the last things that I want to say about Palestine and necropolitics. It is so essential to Mbembe's theory, and it is various points throughout the book talked about really clearly, about how these zones of death are created, how in Palestine, particular areas, not just in Gaza, but within Israel, where particular groups are discriminated against and kept in areas closer to death. He talks about it a lot because it's so clear that that is what's happening. And it's such a good example of how groups are managed on their connections on their proximity to death. So yeah, that's what I wanted to say about Palestine in regard to necropolitics. Oh, hey Teo, thanks for joining us. We were talking briefly about Eve Fartlow, but then I was just finishing up talking about necropolitics in Palestine. Oh, that's just popped into my head because of Teo. Necropolitics. I was reading a decolonial feminism this week or last week. Yeah, I finished it this week. It's only 80 pages. I don't know how it took me like 5 days to finish. I was reading it this week, and a lot of what was talked about in that book, it was a great book, and everyone should read it. It's really short and really good, packed with information. That a lot of what the author talks about in that book is that capitalism creates types of waste and types of and places different people closer to death. Like specifically, she talks about people being classed as waste, and the necropolitical connections to the way she describes people being kept close to waste is so close to necropolitics, and it is weird how she never mentions it at all. Absolutely great. Yeah, it was a fantastic book. And I'm probably going to read through it again. I'm gonna probably use a bit of it for the next video on internet epistemology and like types of knowledge that are produced and reproduced online, because she does a better job of describing problems with epistemology than or at least she's more clear than Mignolo was in his description of it. Nicodapter, is it about precariety and labour force subjugation or just cruelty? In terms of people being turned into waste under capitalism, do you mean? So yeah, so if you want some more stuff where you can find some necropolitical connections, I would recommend reading that book. Sorry, let's just catch up on chat a bit. Marina, while I can't type, please ignore me. I would never ignore you, Marina. John the Poop Can. More like John Duncan, more like John Duncan. Wow, Bubble Boy, you have managed to repeat a joke my dad used to tell us. He used to get bullied when he was in school in 1960. Fucking 1960, whenever he was in school. By people calling him Colin Duncan or Duncan make your garden grow. So well done, you've really dragged up a joke from the nether years there. It's kind of impressive. So I was just finishing my tea. That done. Dad, from each according to their mutuals to each according to their feed. Sorry, that was nothing. That's something we can fucking workshop it later. Can't believe Bubble Boy. Can't believe everyone is bullying John by mixing poop into his name. Yeah, that's everyone. As a Jordanian living in the UK, it's so odd seeing the pro-Israel sentiment being the status quo, and how no one seems to actually understand the impact of British colonialism in the region. Yes. So I was saying this the other week. It is interesting how this time it does seem different. It does seem like there is more concerted opposition to Israel than there has been in other occasions before. Which, like, I don't think it's obviously not complete and it's not as good as it can be. But I do think it's connected to the Black Lives Matter protests and at least some consciousness being raised by good activist work highlighting the role of not just British imperialism, but American imperialism and racialization as it has expanded across the globe. Because Israel is obviously not just an expression of British imperialism, but of US imperialism as well, with like huge arms funding, and you know that famous clip of Joe Biden saying if Israel didn't exist, the US would need to invent an Israel to protect its interests. So obviously there's imperial connections between those places, but that is definitely something I don't think even on the left. I mean, among some of the people I talk to among the left, they're much more conscious of it, but definitely the broader left is a bit less aware of the roles of imperialism and of continued colonialism in these cases. I mean, the two of the worst takes I've seen were obviously Cenk from the Young Turks, and he's not really on the left, I wouldn't say, but like as the Young Turks would maybe be broadly placed on the left, describing it as a religious conflict, and it was kind of amazing to see that tweet because almost everyone was just unified in being like, "Wow, that's such an outdated view." And I do remember specifically, like I remember a Tim Minchin song from back in maybe like 2010 about we both don't eat pigs, so we should get along, talking about talking about Israel and Palestine, and like that view is it just seems like so archaic, so from a different universe that there is at least something to be pleased about that everyone went shut the fuck up to someone who said that. But there's also that Workerist article where it was saying that the Israeli and Palestinian working class. So I didn't read the article, so I'm just gonna guess. Fuck it. About an article which essentially didn't recognise the coloniality of it all, and it was interesting to see how so many parts of the left were very quick to point out that an argument which doesn't take account of colonialism and coloniality is incomplete when it comes to something like Israel and Palestine. And even though it's not like fully, we still have ways to go in like raising consciousness among the left for sure. It is encouraging to see these things. Nicky Draft, I'll come back to that question. It's about precariety in labour, forced subjugation, or is it just cruelty? That and Necropolitics. So in the book on decolonial feminism, when she talks about waste, it isn't just about precariety. It's about all those things: precariety, labour force subjugation, the racialization, and what like the coloniality of it, which means like the colonialist logic that that infects all parts of modern politics. Hey Sinan, welcome to the stream. We're just talking about Necropolitics. You missed some Fartlow stuff. We're just chilling out, having a laugh. So on decolonial feminism points out that certain people, not just through labour force subjugation and precariety, but through racialisation and colonial logic, are kept as waste. Sinan, we can return to Fartlow stuff, I'm sure. Throw out your best bits in the chat, and I'll give out a prize. So yeah, Nikki, I hope that answers your question. Communist Bamafesto. My dad actually made a DIY company called Duncan Do It. I disowned him. We're Duncans too. Well, as long as you're not another John Duncan, then I would have to murder you. I'm afraid that is just the rules, because I've got to steal your power if you're another John Duncan. Christian Herrera. Yeah, with the internet and grassroots organisations, a lot more people are informed about the current situation in Palestine, whereas before the public were just force-fed the narrative of Israel being... yeah, I think I understand... Yeah, I mean... I wouldn't place it just... The internet is a tool that can be used for good activism. I think the important thing isn't necessarily the internet, but the activism itself. It's good that the internet could facilitate that. Anticipations of ancient hatreds. Charlie's saying, yeah, but the US still did Iraq and maintains close ties with Saudi Arabia, so maybe they just want to get rid of Arabs they don't like and don't mind how. Um, I'm not sure what I'm not exactly sure what you're saying there. Just saying like the US in terms of why. So in terms of why the US supports Israel, I mean I think the US supports Israel because it is useful to US imperial interests. I mean the Iraq War was a US imperial war. Um, oh yes, Musty, I've seen that take that Israel is decolonizing the land. Yeah, that's quite incredible. It's funny how those takes that are like, you see them about how to be an ally, to be a good LGBT ally, you've got to support Israel, despite the fact that Israel doesn't allow people to get like same-sex people to get married. Uh, and those takes they just seem hollow right now. And I'm sure there's an effect to which like I'm in a bubble, and that we're all in our sort of bubbles, but yeah, like Bubble was saying, Israel is an intersectional paradise, and you see these things every now and again. These takes springing up every now and again, and they seem more hollow than I think they would have done even in like 2017, where where like they would seem more more sincere. They like takes like that would be more common to spark off like days of discourse about you know who's who how it's right to be an ally in the case of Israel Palestine, stuff like that. But these days it's just people tweet that stuff and then everyone just goes shut the fuck up. Like come on, we're talking about settler colonial genocide of a people. Like we're not playing games here. This is not something to play games about. And people who play these sort of rhetorical games using particular communities as battering rams just seem hollow, which in a way is kind of nice. Like at least they seem hollow when they don't seem like they've got any sort of grip of the current mood, at least on the left. So that's something. Um, I saw Seth Rogen. Too many John Duncans already. There are too many John Duncans already. We are Legion, and I am going to destroy each one of them, grind them into powder, snort them, and take their power, because that's the right thing to do. Yeah. So, I've run out of things to say very quickly. Someone shout some chat. Chat to me, chat. What do you want to talk about today? Anything that's interesting you guys? Anything you want to talk about? Any questions about the video, about other videos in the future? Any current events that we want to talk to? Did I hear about the Mbembe Macron debate in July? I did hear about the Mbembe Macron debate. I didn't watch it. Maybe I should. I don't know. I'm not one for debates. That's what I'm gonna talk about a bit in my next video about like debate and well, more broadly than debate. So I'll talk about the next video for a little bit. Next video is called the title for it. Thanks, Musty. Yeah, you're just thanks for asking. What's your next project? Next project is called at this point, working title, Debate Me, Internet Epistemology. And it's going to be about how we form knowledge and how we talk and like create discourse online. Not just through debates, but in other ways online as well, like YouTubing, video essays, and we're going to start with like the problems with the platforms, the type of pressures that such platforms put on people who say try to create educational or political education online, and what that forces them into, why things like streaming are easier and why they have particular negative drawbacks for the production of knowledge. then the second part, and patrons can see the plan for this so far. If you're on my Patreon, you can see that I put the plan up. The first part is going to be about like the platforms online and the production and the production of knowledge and the pressures that are put on knowledge producers in quotes. Second part is about debate, because debate as an expression. See you later, that dang dad. Thanks for popping in, and thanks for sharing the video. I really appreciate it. Have a good night. Yeah, and the second part is going to be about debate, and about not just like how debate is good for the algorithm, but how debate as a form of discourse and knowledge creation lends itself to particular tendencies. Like Charlie's saying in the chat, debates seem to be a good way to decide who's best at debates, less good at deciding who's right or what criteria we're even using to decide what's right. That's completely correct, and I wanted to talk about that, but there have been other people who've talked about this stuff before on the internet, like Sarah Zed, Sinan, who's got a good video on stuff like this, and Bad Empanada did. Hey, Harker the Storyteller, thanks for popping in. How are we doing tonight? Hope we're well. Yeah, so that's right. Sinan does have good videos, and you should subscribe to his channel and his Twitch, because we redistribute clout here. Yeah, and so debates, like I wanted to go just beyond like the debate culture sort of argument, because it's been made before well by other people. So the third section of the video is about knowledge production as a wider like category, a thing that exists, an epistemology, and I wanted to talk about how particular forms of knowledge creation that exist throughout the university in the West, Western knowledge creation lend itself to particular injustices, like genocides, like part of what created the culture of knowledge that we have today, through like Cartesian. We're doing some decoloniality, yeah, not all decoloniality, Teo, but some decoloniality. We've also, I'm being torn in two directions by the Kieran and Lukes of the world. So I've got some decoloniality on one hand and some positivism on the other. So I'm trying to condense those dense fucking arguments into something that's less than 35 minutes. But it is important to point out that knowledge is not a thing in the abstract. It's a social production. Yes, Curio has a good video on debate, and Curio and We're in Hell also have good videos on the sort of public intellectuals. So I wanted to take those a slightly different direction to add something more extra to it. So the video is going to end on this sort of consideration of knowledge, and how that kind of knowledge exists, why it can be used in really negative ways, and how it's reproduced and bastardized online. Because I think the way that debate works, and the way that people like Ben Shapiro work, and they talk about facts, don't care about your feelings, and they quote stats, and there's that famous Socialist Done Left tweet, famous because I say famous, it's just lodged in my brain because it fucking annoyed me, but there's that tweet where he was like, there's no anecdotes or evidence, the only evidence is stats, and that's like a super bastardized image of like Western knowledge creation, of like positivist, quantitative knowledge creation, to say that only statistics matter. And I remember looking at this tweet going like, fucking hell, only stats are evidence. I'm gonna have to rewrite my entire PhD, because fucking hell, mine is based entirely on interviews, and what's an interview but an anecdote? So yeah, so that's what the next project's gonna be about. Which I've not written it yet. I've been taking a little bit of a break because I've been from video writing, because I've been really busy with PhD stuff, and Yes, almost like when economists write things. You're right, Harkar. That is exactly like when economists write things. Economists and being economistic is the fucking bane. It's the bane of social science work. Economists who don't recognise that uh, being economistic is not great, and that they need to realise that they are not doing science. They are doing, or even if they were doing science, that science is fallible in its own ways. And if you want to call it science, fucking fine. But it's a social process. It's not an abstract thing. It's very annoying in economists. So yeah, that's what the next video is going to be about. Hopefully I'll have it out maybe first or second week of June. I'm not dropping any tactical slurs, Paul. So first or second week of June, I wanted to like take a step away from video making for just like briefly, because I had to get on with PhD stuff and I was getting really stressed out about missing deadlines, so I deliberately sort of stepped back a bit. So yeah, that's what the next video is on. And I've got a couple ideas for future ones. I want to do one bringing in Kirk Market. I'm a grad student in econ at the LSE. Just finished exams. Well done. Hope you're having a good drink. And every day I wanted to shoot myself in the face and quit. I can understand. Yeah. So the next videos I think I'm gonna make are about on decolonial feminism. I want to do something about that because I've had an idea about the ways in which neoliberalism has created the subject of a woman, and I wanted to do a specific feminist analysis of neoliberalism, something that I think has been missing in at least my work for a bit. I've wanted to do that for a while, and I want to bring in a decolonial feminism into that as well. I also want to do one on language in Marxism and language in left-wing thought, and I think that'd be another interesting thing to do in the future. I've got like a big pile of fucking ideas that I want to do, because I'm just like, I've got a fear that I'll run out one day. So yeah, that's at least another 2 months there. Sorry, let's have a look at the chat, see if I've missed anything. It looks like I'm okay for not missing stuff. Bubble Boy oh no, sorry, Charlie. I was gonna answer you. What's your thesis title and how far through are you? So oh god, I can't even remember the name of my thesis title. I just wrote it down today as well. It's fuck. Will I just look at it? I was doing my ethics. I'm at my research student progress form today. So let's take a look. What is the title of my thesis? I should probably know it off the top of my head, eh? So the title, Human Rights, Austerity and Neoliberalism, building a theory, that should say, a theory of how human rights could be best utilised as a tool for tackling the politics of neoliberal austerity from the ground up. So yeah, it's about social movement activism and how best to use human rights within social movement activism against neoliberalism. I'm about a year and a half through it, so I'm about halfway through it. Just started my interview process this week, which was fun, and also started the interview transcribing process this week, which is not fucking fun. It's so boring. So yeah, that's what my thesis title is. Bubble Boy. Oh god, I just remembered a bit of a debate on Marx with one of those lefty debate streamers where they were asking for empirical proof about commodity being use, value, and value. I think that might have been Socialist Done Left. I think that might he was the worst of them. The way these people work, these like debate streamers, and like you see the fucking genealogy of them, because you got Destiny, then his progeny being Vosh, and then Vosh's progeny being Socialist Done Left, and you can see like the sort of bastardization of their process going. Vosh is bad. I think he's probably better than Destiny. But you can see like the bastardization of like the process through the generations of them. And Socialist Unleft is the worst of them. He's just like constantly like, where's your empirical proof for this? Where's your empirical fucking stuff for this? And you're just like, god damn, it's like that's not how knowledge has to work. That's just not how it has to work. This isn't how it has to work, and it's so annoying. Let's see. Communist Manifesto's Pineapple on Pizza Bourgeois. As you can see, I discuss the important intellectual pish. I don't know if it's bourgeois, it's just gross. I mean, I'm not going to denigrate anyone for liking gross stuff on their pizza. Like we've seen this week. We shouldn't denigrate people for that. I wouldn't eat it. In participation, will the role of the family will the role of the family unit in neoliberalism come into this? Because I have thoughts about the family. Yes, I mean so it's one of the things about neoliberalism. And there's a book I've been meaning to read, a Wendy Brown book about it, which from the looks of the blurb and the review I read, is very similar to my like trajectory on theorizing of neoliberalism. It's not just about the individual. Like it's not a theory of the individual. What it is a theory of change and how to change individuals and households and the state. And often in the early stuff, it was household. You look at Thatcher, it was about the household, how to change, like how to make the state into this sort of idealized, marketized household. And then if you look at the stuff about how women are perceived or are pushed into being under neoliberalism, it's about, sorry, I don't have any water. It's about, like they're not liberated. They're pushed into the workplace while also forced to maintain their role as like primary caregivers. They're not. It's not about freedom. It's about being integrated into the labour market, and therefore it's like women under neoliberalism are not just expected to be like they were previously, wives and mothers. They were expected to be wives, mothers, and workers as well. So it wasn't liberatory. It was just additionally. And obviously there were class and racial dimensions that meant that if there was a woman who had the ability to enter the labour force to such a extent that they were like they managed to get wealthy enough or middle class enough, they could then hire the racialized labour force to look after children and stuff like that. So yeah, the family unit has to come into it, because in any feminist analysis, the family unit will come in, because the role of women has been so attached to the family throughout centuries, and it's been changing, and under neoliberalism it's been it's been subject to different changes and very little liberation. Musty, do you think it's possible to balance uni and YouTube? I'm doing my fucking best. I mean, some people, like, plenty of folk have done it. Like I say, the YouTube's good boy, Tom Nicholas, has done it. He got his PhD while he was doing YouTube, and while he was a much bigger YouTuber than me. So he managed to balance it okay. I managed to do okay. I think one of the reasons why I'm managing to do it okay is because I've not had to teach so far. I do want to start teaching once universities go back in October and I'm back in London again. I want to start teaching, but I've not had an opportunity to teach properly yet, and teaching takes up a lot of time. So balancing things like teaching as well as uni and as well as YouTube would, I think, be quite difficult. So we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. Communist Manifesto language is important every time I try and discuss any type of leftist thought. Definitions of things changing becomes extremely frustrating, like the difference between private and personal property. Yeah. So the route that I was thinking about with that video at the moment was less like the rhetoric of things like that, and more like how particular languages are privileged in spaces like English, or like initially French would have been privileged as the language of imperialism and colonialism, and the impact that that's had on politics. And then today, English, the way English is privileged as the language de facto of the world, and the impacts that has, and it has impacts on academia as well. So I've got some like things to read there, and there's a book on a book called Language and Marxism that I've been meaning to read for almost 2 years now, that I've got saved in my digital library, which I think I'll take a look at that. Yeah, it's interesting area, something that I think I need to do a lot of research in before I'm comfortable in making a video about it. Teo, I can't do auto transcribes because auto transcribes often, like, the sites require uploading a thing to a site to get it to transcribe would be a breach of my ethics. So I can't do that. I don't want to pay any money to download anything. And I also like on a research level, I think it's important to do the transcription myself. I wouldn't say for other people that have to do this, but I think it's important for me to do it myself, because I think it's like another way to absorb what was said in the interview, and another way to sort of like hear what was discussed in the interview and what comes through in what comes through in it, and like before I'd start doing my coding. Nicky after his granddad did the pay of pigs. Oh, Socialist on Left. Yes. His granddad was like from a CIA place. Fuck, I'm behind in the chat. Sorry, guys. I'm so glad that I skipped all the debate bro YouTuber phase that loads of people went through. Oh, it sounds insufferable. I watched them. I never like. I was like, I think the first like debate stuff I ever got into was like really late. Like I was just at the start of lockdown, when I was just like kind of scrambling around for things to do, and sort of worried about shit that I'd put on like some long form thing to have on the background while I was writing or something. And a lot of the time that was debate content, and it just really quickly just became evident how shit it is, how pointless it is, and how it doesn't produce anything worthwhile. A really good example of how bad debate content was that debate between Destiny and Professor Richard Wolff, and it like, I understood, like when it was hosted by the Serfs, and I understand what the Serfs were saying when they said, so a bunch of people who wouldn't normally just got a lecture on socialism, but I just don't buy. I mean that's the same argument that I'm converting a bunch of people with my debates, which as far as I've been able to tell in my research, there's no evidence of that, and there's been no systemic research done on that. So I don't know, but also you didn't have an interview with Richard Wolff there. What you had was Richard Wolff for 90% of the time just correcting basic factual errors on tangential things. What it did, it made clear that Destiny was a fool, but you didn't really need a debate to show that. It was just Professor Wolff correcting Destiny on basic things for like 90% of it, and then him repeating like 101 market socialist stuff. And it would have been more interesting and a better use of everyone's time, I think, rather than doing a debate, to just have like an interview with Richard Wolff, where you maybe questioned his particular conceptions of socialism, his conceptions of what it means to break out of the capitalist mode of production, because like obviously he's well into co-ops, and there's plenty of critiques that you can make of co-ops, but that sort of stuff was obviously never brought up, because he was debating Destiny, who's an idiot, doesn't know what he's talking about. So it's just like you got this sort of confused, kind of annoyed old man dealing with this e-celebrity who's like doesn't understand what he's talking about, and it's just again pointless for everyone. I thought that was a really good example of why debates don't really work for anything. And then, like, you've got your whole knowledge shouldn't be a competition; it should be a collective, working to collective understanding of things, which obviously debate isn't. The smugness of being wrong that winds me up. Yeah. Charlie, I appreciate the offer, but I couldn't put out a transcription to anyone else. It's because of ethics stuff. That my ethics forms have been put in, and like to change anything like that, to send out transcriptions to third parties would be a whole ordeal that I can't really do. Bubble Boy, I actually got blocked by Socialist on Left. I'm quite far back up. I actually got blocked by Socialist on Left for replying to one of his tweets with a bar chart I made that just said 100% no. Yeah, that's bad. Sorry. Yeah, lol, John, you're linking the hating pineapple on pizza to anti-degeneracy stuff. Look, all I'm saying is that we shouldn't hate people for what they like. And if you can't take that, Teo, so, if you can't take that, I don't know what to tell you. I just think you should be a little bit more open-minded about pineapple on pizza, even if you don't like it, which, to be clear, I don't. Okay, making fun of my accent in chat, that's not very nice. Fuck, I'm really far behind. Okay, I'm behind, and I just sort of scrolled down, see what the first comment I saw at the bottom was, and it just says piss is okay, but what about poop's not? And now I'm just gonna have to read through the chat to figure out where we've gone wrong here. What's happened in this chat? That I was talking about fucking knowledge production, and they were talking about poop's not down here. What's going on? Come on. I mean, I'm not saying it's bad. I just need to understand the trajectory that we've taken. Also the gender of childcare. YouTube is good. YouTube is good practice for teaching. Yes, Charlie, that is actually one of the reasons why I first got into YouTube, because I knew I was going into PhD and I wanted to get practice in teaching. Yeah. Who's cancelling John in person for what? Kurt Wackett, if you had to study a different discipline, what would you study? I don't know. I think I could answer like what I would have studied differently in my undergrad, because I did a politics undergrad degree, which is valuable in a way, but looking back on it now, I should have done something like sociology or philosophy when I was at undergrad, because politics undergrad was like, it's very, like, it's a good microcosm of all the issues that I talked about earlier in this stream, about how it's very quantitative focused. It's very focused on existing structures. It doesn't really question those structures. So a lot of politics education is like how these parties act within a particular system. And fundamentally, I'm not that interested in that. I think it's been useful to a degree to have that kind of knowledge base, because not that many people on the left do have a particular political science knowledge base. They often have sociology or philosophy or history knowledge bases, because those disciplines, I think, tend towards encouraging more left-wing thought. And I think politics tends... There's a reason why Paul profs have such bad posting, and it's because the discipline itself forces you into that sort of way of looking at the world. So I think it is useful to have some knowledge base and some understanding of why these people are like the way they are. But where I am now in my PhD, it's not like really discipline based. It's sort of political sociology, it's got philosophy in it as well. Like by the time I've got to where I am, it's really interdisciplinary. So I don't really know what to say to like if I've got like a different discipline to pick. When I was a teenager, I wanted to go into science. I wanted to be a STEM-brained guy, but managed to get out of that somehow. Musty, if you need, I could volunteer to do English subtitles on your videos. I might take you up on that at some point in the future. I did the English subtitles in the last one. Yeah, so English subtitles, I knew it. Yeah, but debate as a means of proselyte is BS. Fuck, I'm just gonna have to scroll down. I'm too far behind you, chat. You're too fast for me. I think last time we were doing this, it was good because like it was the first time I'd lost track of the chat. This time it's really the chat has moved forward. So thanks for being so fun and chatty. I'm being cancelled, am I? What am I being cancelled? What am I being cancelled for? Okay, let's take a look. I'm not mocking your accent, John, just acknowledging that all the software I've ever used would fail with yours even worse than it fails with mine. I blame the Americans. Yeah, I get that. Knowing how the current system functions is I feel necessary to changing the system, but I'm poli-sci degrees, so bias. Yeah, I mean, like, I understand that. Obviously, I obviously understand that because I came from the politics background as well. But like, it's not that it's the problem isn't that it teaches you to understand the system. The problem is that it teaches you the system and teaches you that things that change are within that system, and that the system itself is more constant. And certainly, this is the case with my politics education in undergrad. Very little was done about systemic change, even political philosophy. Like I talk about a lot. My political philosophy course in second year at university was just a liberal tradition. It was like that. It was that civilizational. It went Aristotle, fucking Plato, Machiavelli to Rousseau to Locke to Hobbes to John Rawls, and then you had half a class on Marx, half a class on feminism, no mention of any decolonial or post-colonial work, no real mention of any black radical traditions, no mention really of colonialism at all, in a whole fucking year of political philosophy. So little focus was put on system change. It was all about things within that system changing, which is, I think, the issue with politics under at least my politics undergrad degree, and from what I've heard from others who have similar experiences, it's similar for them too, and from what I've seen of your famous Paul Profs on Twitter, that is the limit of their analysis too. So yeah, that I think is the issue with the politics course, and I do think it's good to understand how the system works, how politics works in your state and stuff like that. But you need to have broader analysis than that. So yeah, that was the issue. Art guys are just better people. I'm sorry to have to break it to you all. Don't know what that's in reference to. Left Bubble Boys left us with a comp sci knowledge base. I'm just waiting for the day when the Vanguard needs someone who understands monads and Haskell programming language. Well, I'm sure that means something, and I am sure it's good. Oh Christ, am I being cancelled again? No, it's fine. That's back up the chat. Cool. English lit baby, Tim Lutton. I had too much freedom for one good though. John, I'm not gonna lie, I could see you as a STEM nerd. Yeah, I don't know. I kind of the reason I wanted to do and go into like STEM stuff was because my whole life people talked to me about being exactly like my dad, and my dad was a social scientist, so I was like, I'm not gonna be a social scientist. I'm gonna fucking do science. That'll show him. That's how fucking lame I am. The way I was gonna rebel against my parents was doing fucking science. That's how fucking lame I am. Um, but then by the time sixth year came around, I was like, well, fuck. I am definitely gonna do social science. That's what I'm better at. Um, I don't think I've got that. I don't think I could be STEM brained, to be honest. Um, I think there was a risk I could have, if I'd fallen into that sort of like Vosh sort of destiny trap when I was younger. I think I could have gotten debate brained, which is just another way of being STEM brained, another stupider way of being STEM brained. Um, Paul Robin, you studied theology. Um, that's cool. So one fun story. One time I did a real life debate when I was working for an NGO. I was invited to do a debate, and I went there to because like I didn't want to do a debate, but I wanted to go there and just like correct. I was invited to this debate that was like, this house believes religion is bad, and like we're supposed to argue the other. I was supposed to be on this house believes the religion is bad side, and I was like, I'm not gonna argue that. So I went to this place and I argued, and I was like, we don't think religion is bad. We think religion is fine, and can be liberatory in some cases, and so on and so on. And one of the people we were arguing against was a theology PhD who was a really nice guy. And he came up to me afterwards and was like, "That was a good argument. You should be pleased with yourself." And I was like, "Oh, thanks." And then I got drunk, which is how so many of my stories seem to end. Google John Duncan blind date. That's why he's cancelled. Still trying to get me cancelled for the other John Duncan stuff. Paul Robin, Google Don. Get out! Don't let Don Junkin find you. Don Junkin will put out a hit on you if he thinks that you're coming after his crowd. You know what he's like. So poli sci is still stuck at the end of history and hasn't yet realised it's the first book in a series. Yeah, I mean my first politics lecture ever of undergrad mentioned the end of history. I did mention it in a really disparaging way, as everyone does. I don't think it's stuck at the end. I don't think it's necessarily stuck at the end of history, because I think that for most of the time it's been at that, like, it was at the end of history before the end of history got there. It just isn't honest with itself a lot of the time, and the way that it approaches the world. So you get like people talking about how well they understand the world, but they don't really. Must say, in my political philosophy class in high school, our teacher said that the US military soldiers in Afghanistan were honourable people who, well, we had a classmate from Afghanistan who was there. Well, oh God, I mean, you can get into all the. Oh Christ! I mean, like, it's funny how much people think that the right thinks that education is so full of left wingers when it's just filled with fucking reactionaries, top to bottom, throughout school and university. It's quite something. Harker the Storyteller. I took a unit in religious education and developed a unit to undermine Vatican, its natural world theory using Hume. That sounds quite interesting. I did a course in my undergrad about the development of secularization. You know, I'm going to talk about this for a second. So the organisation I used to work for, Teo, did they disparage end of history in a racist way though? Because poli-sci's love to do that. No, they just said that he was quite clearly wrong, and he's become a bit of a joke. I mean, I've not read Fukuyama's work since then, but from I've heard mixed things. I've heard that he started to take in more left-wing thought, but is still like fundamentally liberal in his conception and still quite bad. so I don't know about where they disparaged it in a racist way. They just I just remember the lecturer saying, yeah, this was a bad book, and was obviously wrong. So the organisation I used to work for was the Scottish Secular Society, and so that was obviously a contentious society because on the one hand you had the fucking hardline. Before I joined, there was a big schism in the organisation, and all like the hardline new atheist folk left to try and form a new group, while the people who were about like trying to pursue religious freedom, in the state, were left. And that was like while I was there, my job was to try and promote religious freedom, to try and remove religious discrimination within the state. And so a lot of people, when they talk about like secularism, and they talk about that's like tied up with new atheism and all that shit. And it was one of the biggest issues that we had to deal with was always trying to get people to trust us, like people from interfaith groups that we wanted to work with to, oppose new government legislation that would be really discriminatory towards usually particularly Muslim groups. And it was difficult to get them to trust us, obviously because of this new atheist current, which is inherently like totally Islamophobic. So sometimes you get people who are like, oh, we grew out of the secularism phase because of the Islamophobia and stuff like that. And like how was spoken about in a decolonial feminism, about how secularism was tied up with particular conceptions of like civilization and all that stuff. The way that we approached it was slightly different, and it was about I was about basically opposing state overreach into the religious sphere, rather than protecting, rather than projecting a particular ideal of how religious people should behave in a society. I grew out of the secularism phase not because of those other types of secularism, but because my conception of how useful action within the state is, how useful it is to pursue positive change within organisations like that and through the state, which I think is a slightly different thing. Similar to arguments that are made in Marx's on the Jewish question, when he talks about the limits of the secular state and stuff like that. So yeah, I was just thinking about that for a few days. So so that was irrelevant to what everyone wanted to talk about, but it's been in my head for a few days, and I just wanted to get it out. I've not looked at the chat for a bit. What's going on? John is cum-brained. John is cum-brained? Okay. Cum-brained debate pilled. Charlie's saying, I basically picked up a theology degree as a teenager via my dad. Christians who tried to convert me from Satanism get a big surprise. Uber Firearm, I was forced to take a class on the state, but it was all about Freedom House. What's Freedom House? Is that a US thing? I've got a bit in the back of my head. There's a thing saying Freedom House ringing a bell, but I'm not sure what it is. However, it's bizarre to me that education, despite its radical and revolutionary potential, is saturated with conservatism. Yeah, I mean, like, the easier explanations that we can look to are things like the class position of people who are high up in education. Looking at like fucking who are senior academics. They are wealthy, white, middle-aged men. So they're going to have a vested interest in projecting particular ideas of society into the world, and obviously, and they're gonna have blind spots, willful blind spots frequently with women, and with race, and with anything that makes them uncomfortable. Academia is so fucked up right now, and probably forever, but it's getting more fucked up right now with the way that early career researchers are just hardly making a living, while elderly white male professors are fucking living off of the young career researchers' work, while being confined to particular narratives about like how knowledge should work and how education should work. It's all really regressive, and I think it is important to remember that a lot of schooling emerged out of like military schooling and really rigorous religious schooling, and the university emerged out of I'll see you later in participation. Have a good sleep. Thanks for joining us. A lot of university education emerged out of initially religious, really hierarchical, patriarchal religious organisations, which then got transformed into really hierarchical, patriarchal, bourgeois, rational institutions in the Enlightenment. And it makes sense if you look at it in that way, what these institutions are and what they're for. Historically, it makes sense that they are full of people who like reflect the institutional function that the institution serves. It's hard to exist in academia if you don't follow those precepts. It's hard to exist in academia if you are not a straight presenting cis white man. So I mean, it follows from those factors that it would be filled with conservatism, social and otherwise. Kind of depressing. Yeah. Sorry, I hope I'm not bringing down the mood of it, anyone. Just talking about I mean, to be fair, we did start talking about necropolitics at the beginning, so this is a fucking step up. So if you're miserable by this, then you know what you're getting into, and I don't apologize. I don't apologize to you for that. I'm lying. I do apologize. Love you all. What's other folk saying? Tim Lutton. I've just finished my first big written thing on the arts and how it's kept at the edge of survival in the UK to be submitted to any leftist journal that will have it. Wish me luck. Good luck, Tim. I hope you get it. I hope you get it published. I'm currently still waiting. After almost a year since I started writing, I'm still waiting on my first article getting accepted for publication. My supervisor said that this time after these revisions, they'll probably accept it. So hopefully within the coming weeks I should get an acceptance about from my first article. I made a mistake in my theorizing and in my adaptation of the theory of Bob Jessup, who's a Marxist, a sort of structuralist Marxist who's done a lot of work on neoliberalism and the development of austerity, and had mucked up something really simple in his theory, so I had to go through and fix that. And fucking hell, trying to translate Bob Jessup work, whose work is so dry, so dull. Like he's good and he's incisive, but he's fucking dry and dull. And trying to transform his writing into something readable is harder than trying to get his theory right. So that's how I spent last week trying to do that. So good luck, Tim. Harker the Storyteller. Paul Robinson saying this. One of my lecturers at a left wing uni was a priest who is head of an anti-abortion and LGBTQIA plus organisation in Ireland. He was teaching moral philosophy. Fucking hell. That is something else, man. Yeah, fuck that. I don't know what to say about that. It's what one of the, I mean, that's one of the things that in Scotland, one of the things that is really regressive about the way that religion interacts with the state is we have these things. We have on local authority councils, we have unelected religious representatives who have power over controlling local authority education programs, and in these unelected religious people have to always include one Protestant, one Catholic, and one, quote, other. And these people have immense power, almost no accountability, and can often be like Paul's lecturer, really dangerous people. So one of the things that we used to do in the secular society was try and get them to elect religious representatives who would abstain, and we get quite a lot of that. I remember talking to a rabbi who'd been offered the position of religious representative on the education council, just to abstain on it. So that was good. It's fucked up how the particular dominance of Christianity within the state, and I mean particularly in Scotland, within the UK. I don't know what it's like in England. I don't know if it's as strong, but particularly in Scotland, the control of Christian groups over parts of the state is immense still, and it quite kind of freaks you out when you sort of look into it. Yeah. The class position of teaching in schools, like in Australia, at least getting into school education is really expensive. Yeah. Do you mean like people who can go into education, or people who are teachers and stuff? John, we don't come to you for uninformed optimism. Nobody comes to me for optimism. Uberfire, I'm not going to read your lewd and disgusting comment, and I fully reject that. I fully reject that. So please keep such filth out of my comment section. Yeah, as a career educator, it's really frustrating the ways that our institutions manufacture consent of teachers and students. Yeah, I mean, like, it's just the impact of, it's the impact of capitalism within our system. It's a totalizing system, and it constantly pushes everyone within that system into particular ways of being. The one that what frustrates me is obviously what am I saying now, Teo? John coming with the anti-degeneracy takes. What did I say that? You're just putting words in my mouth now. I'll go full Eve Fartlow on you. I don't even know what that means. I'll write an article about people trying to call me John Duncan or something, and then steadily get up to like 20,000 Twitter followers. That's. I've still got time for Meltdown May. God damn it, I've still got time. What was I saying? I was saying something about that capitalism is a totalizing system, blah blah blah, some bullshit. You know what I'm like. It was just the same thing over and over again. Taylor's saying, I think in England there's less direct control and more just powerful cultural Christianity, which is tied in with whiteness, etc. I don't know how much more cultural Christianity there would be in England over Scotland, and how I would be hesitant to say that there was more of that in England. I think that the rates of religiosity, which I know separate from cultural Christianity, but the rates of religiosity are similarly low. and particularly among younger generations. But we've also got the added dimension of all the sectarianism and stuff. And we've got plenty fucking, and I know you know this, we've got plenty of fucking white supremacy up in Scotland as well. Yeah, it fucking sucks. John, which hate crime can you even say I'm doing to you here? Are you going to make anti-Scot hate crimes a thing? Look, if Eve Bartlow can make calling her Eve Fartlow part of the fucking international covenant on torture, then I can make anti-Scottish hate crime some bullshit as well. I'll make, fuck it. I'll go full cursed. I'll start arguing that Scottish people were colonised and saying that you are you're pro hate against colonised people of Scotland. That's what I'll say. Teo isn't a real leftist because they don't stand with the colonised people of Scotland. That's what I'll say. And anyone who clips this, I will block. I can go cursed if I want. Yeah, Uber Farham, you have been silenced, and you will be silenced again. For God's sake, I can't believe I've been cancelled through it so many times. On that note, unless anyone's got any other specific questions that they want to ask about the video or about anything else that's been on their mind, or if they want to see if they can cancel me again, we'll start drawing it to a close. Unless anyone's got anything else that they want to add on, I'll just fucking chat about some shit while I'm waiting for all of your questions to obviously come flooding in that you've been so desperate for me to ask. Chat's been really good today, actually. Despite all the times I've been trying to get cancelled, I've lost track of how many times I've been cancelled today. Was it like 4? I should be making some money out of that if I've been cancelled 4 times. Are you also a fan of Kill James Bond? I'm obsessed. I've only managed to listen to one episode. I just don't. I've got too many podcasts to listen to and not enough time. I've been trying to watch. So I've been trying to watch a lot of. Listen to a lot of Australian podcasts right now because. So I'm gonna start doing a D&D live stream with. Thanks, Charlie. Yeah, that was definitely worth doing. I really wanted to get that focus on disability in this video, and I'd been meaning to do a video on disability for a while now, but I couldn't get like a good angle, I didn't think, so I really wanted to fit it into this because the connections were so clear. Yeah, so I'm starting to do a live stream D&D with Xander Hall, the adult film star, Aronok, another YouTuber, We're in Hell, and Chill Goblin. We're going to start doing a D&D streams on Monday nights, quite late at night because they're all in the US. And I've decided that my character is going to be a high elf who is a real dipshit, real like lowbrow, like he just sort of bungles around the place. And he's kicked out of his high elf world because he can't do magic. He's not cultured enough for them. And his name is Joe Bogan, and he's Australian. So I've been listening to Australian podcasts so I can try and do an Australian accent for my Joe Bogan character. That's what I've been doing with podcasts right now. What's your take on? Oh, for fuck's sake. you almost got me. You almost got me, Harker. You almost fucking got me. But you didn't. I'm too fucking quick, light on my feet for you. You didn't get me. I managed to escape your trap. So take that and get out of here. Don't get out of here. Stick around until the end. But I'm on to you. You know that? I'm on to you. Uber Firearm, is there a possibility that you will do a video on insanity or madness? I don't know. it's a bit that sounds a little bit outside of my wheelhouse. That would sound more like something that Philosophy Tube would be interested in rather than me. Um, maybe if I came across something that I thought was I could integrate into something I thought was interesting about the way, I don't know, the way mental health is, uh, affected by various dimensions of capitalism, of neoliberalism. I'm sure that there's plenty that you can write about in neoliberalization of mental health. I know of some good articles about how uh, about things like that, but like the concept of insanity and madness is, I think, like a challenging concept in itself, which has like tricky like connotations that are difficult to get into, I think, and maybe a bit outside what my sort of remit in my channel is. Uh, like maybe like I say, maybe, but it would depend on, and like I say, I can see that being a more Philosophy Tube thing than a John the Duncan kind of thing. Um, yeah, maybe. Paula Robin, when are we getting a Minecraft stream? There may be a cancellation of you if there isn't one. I've made this joke so many times, I'm not sure if I'm joking anymore. I've never played Minecraft. I mean, first of all, I've never played Minecraft. Second of all, I don't know how to. You saw me try to fucking get one picture on screen earlier today, and it fucking failed for like 20 minutes. So how do you think? I've been trying to figure out how to get like other people onto stream that I can talk to, for like a while now, and I think just my computer is too bad. It just crashes anytime I try. So I don't think I could. I mean, I don't think I could do that. I also only does Minecraft work on the laptop? Is that a PC game? Is that one for the personal computer? Because I only have a Nintendo. Um, I only have a Nintendo Switch, so you know, I don't know if Nintendo does Minecraft. I'm so not a gamer. If I ever did play a game on stream, it would have to be either Breath of the Wild or Mario Kart. And you could see the one area of gaming that I exceed at is Mario Kart, where I am I am the fucking best at Mario Kart. I am the champion of Mario Kart. I would destroy anyone in this chat at a game of Mario Kart. Two things I can be confident of, right? In this chat, two games that I could absolutely destroy people at this chat on fucking Nintendo on Nintendo. I could destroy you all at Mario Kart. At several different types of Mario Kart. At the Mario Kart Switch, at Mario Kart 64, Mario Kart Wii, fucking Double Dash. I would destroy each and every single one of you. You would have no idea what hit you. You don't even. When other people were learning how to play other games, like fucking, I play Call of Duty, I play like fucking Assassin's Creed. No, I was playing Mario Kart because I committed to what I was good at, and I was good at Mario Kart. So I would destroy all that. The other thing, table football, not a computer game, good old fashioned table football. I would fucking destroy each and every one of you at table football. You wouldn't know what would hit you. It'd be fucking 9-0, 10-0, depending on the type of board we were playing with. So, you know, that's where we stand, and I hope you know that. Gauntlet thrown, and I wish this was ironic. I wish this was ironic, but it's not. If any of you come up to me, if I ever meet any of you in real life, and you come up to me and there's a table football near, I will fly into a hot rage. And I will destroy you at table football. And you won't know what's hit you. I will black out, and the spirit of table football will possess my body. I will be the supreme champion again. Table football skills, the mark of a true session drinker. When I was in university, they didn't let me play table football because I would just beat them all the time. I just had to sit in the sidelines and drink and seethe. Teo, when I come down to London, you don't even know what you're playing at. I will absolutely. Now it has been 4 years, 4 or 5 years since I last played table football, but I am still confident that I would utterly decimate you. I would beat them all off. Yes, I've seen that clip of Uber Firearm of Dan Stevens being asked if he had to beat off lots of American men to get his role. I've seen that clip. It's a good clip. We've descended again into real fucking clown hours over here. I've just spent 5 minutes talking about how to destroy you all at table football. So I think it's probably a sign that we should wrap it up. Oh, Musty, you can't. You think you can. You think that you can, but you simply can't. It's simply not possible. I'm telling you, and I'm not lying. It's not like I'm not like bigging myself up. I'm simply telling you the truth. There's nothing else to it. We used to have a table football in the house, and yeah, it was blood sport. We had psychological warfare that went with it. We had the Supreme Championship and a paper crown. The only time I've ever punched someone in the face was when I punched my brother in the face playing table football. We played that game hard. But yeah, on that note of darkness, of doom, of my legendary skills, I think it's time that we call it a night. Because yeah, thanks for joining us. It was fun. My throat is getting very sore. I didn't realise I'd been going for this long. Had a good. I'm glad you're here. All you no need to donate. You're just. I'm just glad you're here and watching. That's all you need to do. Oh Christ, what's going on Twitter? I'm gonna look at Twitter now that you've said that. Fucking hell. Right, I'm gonna shove on ending music. And then we will and call it a night. So cheers, folks. See you later.